I'm Cami Camacho, and this is my video on the bones and muscle structures. So today, my volunteer is my husband, and we'll start with the cervical vertebrae, which supports the skull, which is right here. Then we have the diaphragm, which is used in the process of inspiration and inhalation, which is right here, diaphragm. We have the frontal bone, which is involved in the motor function, such as problem solving, memory, language, social and sexual behaviors, frontal bone. We have the external abdominal oblique muscle, which pulls the chest downward and compresses the abdominal cavity. So that would be right along this area. We have the hyoid, which serves as the anchoring structure for the tongue, located up here. The lumbar vertebrae protects and supports the spinal cord and spinal nerves. So the lumbar vertebrae is this little curvature of the back. Then we have the mandible, which aids in the movement of the jaw, so it opens and lowers the mouth, which hence we chew, so mandible. Then we have the masseter muscle, which elevates the mandible, and there's two parts, superficial and deep muscle. So the masseter would be right here. It's a muscle. We have the maxilla, which holds the upper teeth. So maxilla is around this area, sorry. The nasal bone is this area. And that binds together the cartilage that forms individual nose cavities and shapes. Then they have the occipital bone, which is cupped like a saucer in order to house the back part of the brain. So that bone is located right here of the skull. It's the lower part. The parietal bone provides mechanical protection of the brain, which is right here, this bigger area. We have the rectus abdominis muscle, which pulls the ribs and pelvis in and curves the back, so like a crunch. So it'll be like right here. The sacrum and coccyx supports the weight of the upper body and stabilizes the person while sitting. So those two are right in this area. So the sacrum would be above, the coccyx would be like right here. The sternocleidomastoid muscle rotates the head to the opposite side and flexes the neck. So that muscle is right here. The temporal bone is the mechanical protection of the brain. So that'll be around this area, temporal. We have the sternum, which protects the heart, lungs, and blood vessels from physical damage, which is right in this area. We have the thoracic vertebrae, which holds the rib cage and protects the heart and lungs. So that one would be the upper part of the vertebrae. We have the trapezius muscle, which is used to tilt and turn the head and neck and shrug. So that would be right up here. And the zygomatic bone, which forms the bottom of the orbitals, nasal cavities, and roof of the mouth. So that bone is right here. And there are 33 vertebrae in the human body. Next, we have the biceps brachii muscle, which is right here. And that is essential to the function of the forearm and lifting. The brachioradialis muscle, which is the function, the flexion, pronation, and supination of the forearm. And that is located right here. That muscle. The carpals allows the wrist to move and rotate vertically. So the carpals would be right here. The clavicle acts as a strut to keep the scapula in place so the arm can hang freely. Clavicle is right here. The deltoid muscle moves and stabilizes the shoulder joint. So deltoid is right here. The humerus provides support to major muscles of the shoulder, upper arm, and lower arm. So the humerus is right where that biceps brachii muscle is, except it's the bone. The latissimus dorsi muscle is responsible for extension, adduction, transverse extension, and flexion of the forearm. So that would be right here in this area. The metacarpals connects the bones of the wrist with bones of your finger, and there's 5 of them, so the metacarpals are right in this area. So, metacarpals. The pectoralis major muscle rotates upper arm inwards and makes powerful stroke movements. So the pectoralis is right here. The phalanges is crucial for evolutionary activity. So phalanges are right there moving. Your phalanges? There it goes. The radius is the junction with carpal bones and hand and wrist joint. So radius, take your forearm out, is right here. And then the ulna is the primarily connects to the humerus of the elbow joint. So it'll be just right next to the radius. Yep. Rhomboid major minor muscles retract scapula, pulling it towards vertebral column. So that rhomboid muscle would be around this area. So it's just a little bit more inward. So there's a major, and then the minor would be around this area. The scapula attaches the upper arm to thorax. So scapula is your shoulder blade, basically. So it's around this area. And the triceps brachii muscle fixates the elbow joint when forearm and hands are used for fine movement. So triceps brachii muscle. Next, and there are 30 bones in the upper extremity, or constituent bones. So next we'll have the femur, which is the strongest bone of the body, and it's right in this area. Upper thigh. The fibula stabilizes the ankle and supports the muscles of the lower leg. So the fibula would be right here. So it would be the smaller bone in the shin, or not the shin, yeah, the shin area. Then you have the fibularis longus muscle, which acts to evert and plantar flex the ankle. So that muscle is just in that same area, or right here in this area. Don't mind the dog. So it's this entire muscle right here. The gastrocnemius muscle, its function is the plantar flexing the foot and the ankle and the leg and the knee. So that muscle would be right here, so in the calf area. Gastrocnemius. The gluteus maximus muscle is the movement of the hip and thigh. Gluteus maximus, it's the butt. The gracilis muscle is hip abduction and assists the knee flexion. So turn around. So that'll be the inner thigh right here. The patella is connects to the knee extension, so the patella is the kneecap. The hamstring muscles, we have the semitendinosus, so that'll be the outer part of the hamstring. Then the semimembraneous, which is the just part right here, and then the biceps femoris, which is actually right here, and this is actually the semitendinosus, which is the inner muscle. Then we have the ilium, which is the longest and uppermost bone of the pelvis and accounts for whole pelvis. So that would be, so your iliac crest would be right here, and then the ilium would be just below, like that wide part. So it counts for the width. Then the ischium forms the lower and back part of the hip bone. So the ischium would just be like right here in that area of the pelvis. Then you have the pubis, which would be in the groin area. And that is one of the 3 bones that fuse together to form the hip bone. Also, your phalanges on your toes are right here. Then you have metatarsals, which provides movement in the foot. So it's right here. And you have tarsals, which is tightly bound together by ligaments, functioning as strong weight-bearing platforms. So tarsals are right here. Then you have the quadriceps muscle, which you have the rectus femoris. which is upper here. Then the vastus intermedius, lower part of the rectus femoris. And the vastus lateralis, which is outer, and vastus medialis, which is the inner part of the quad. You have your sartorius muscle, which is important flexor and rotator of the thigh and the hip joint. So it's like along this area. Then you have the tibia connecting the knee to the ankle in bodies of the human. So the tibia will be the bigger bone right here. And finally, the tibialis anterior muscle, which locks the ankle. So like as in kicking the ball. So that would be like between the tibia and the fibula. And that is it.